Okay, level 3, moving along on our continuum, again on religious curriculum. At this point, you're asking the students to come up with more ideas, and you add the service component. I suggest using ideas from Gibbons. Gibbons, in his book called The Walkabout, has this wonderful model that's been used in a lot of schools now with teenagers. And it has 6 parts to give you some structure. I used these a little bit when I was talking about the example of the girl who really loved dogs, and she wanted to lead a project about dogs. Here are the 6 components, and you can see them in the handout. The 6 components are, if the student's going to come up with a project, let's say it's within religion, but you're now going to connect it with interdisciplinary connections to other fields, and here's how you organize it. One is service work that's relevant. Another is adventure. Another is creativity. Another is logical inquiry, where they're really learning new ideas and organizing them perhaps in a written paper. Another is practical skills, and finally career exploration. You might not use all 6, you might, but even if you decide to only use 3 or 4 of those, and then the student knows, okay, now I'm working on adventure, now I'm working on logical inquiry, and it gives them structure as they use their fascination with something. Okay, so maybe a teacher says, our theme for religion for the year is, how does the Lord serve us? And so that we can serve others. What gifts does the Lord give us so that then we can be useful to others? And I used an example here. Imagine if the teacher has done what we call generative topics, meaning that the teacher has generated brainstorms with the students. What are all the different ways that the Lord has given us things that we can then use for others? And imagine if one of the things that the Lord gives us is water. I mean, there's more the substance of water than any other thing in the whole planet. You know, 3/4 of the world is covered with water. How do we use that water? What damage happens when there's too much water, like a rainstorm or a flood or drowning? The point here is, if you take a tangible example of something that the students can see and hear, and then you teach them the correspondence of it, most of us know that water represents truth and falsity. And so then you have the student explore, well, let's see if we can come up with a learning unit on both at a material level and at a spiritual level. So imagine that if a student came up with a learning plan that had a theme around water, and they did one aspect of it where they're serving water, clean water, to the elderly. They're doing an adventurous canoe trip on water. They're doing watercolor paintings. They're studying the story in the New Testament of Matthew 25, like, I was thirsty. What does that mean? They might study the science of ecology. We're getting interdisciplinary here. Or they might talk about the career of purifying water. You may know the fact that 40% of the human beings on the planet today do not have access to clean water that won't make them sick. 40%. That can be a profound discovery for a student to realize, gee, I have bottled water in my refrigerator, but almost half of the people in in the whole world do not have access to clean water today. And that can really stir the hearts of young people. Does that correspond to a lot of people don't have access to truth? Does that mean that people are getting too exposed to a lot of falsities? They have impure water? So you can see that this could be a rich example of tangible and spiritual, and showing that the whole unit on the Lord gives us this substance called water, just like the Lord gives us truth. And we can falsify it, we can work to purify it. What does it mean for me as an individual? What does it mean for my connections with the earth and with people? A teacher who guided this kind of inquiry can have a marvelous time. The student would then build a portfolio and performances of maybe videos of their talks and their activity and their service work, and put it all together, all with this united theme of the Lord provides for us. What are we going to do with these things the Lord has given us, and how are we going to serve others? And what does it all correspond to? So that's just one example. But you see, the thing that is helping to organize the curriculum is, I'm borrowing from Gibbons. I just think it's a marvelous way of saying, okay, you're interested in something? Let's see if you can organize it around some of these 6 different curriculum dimensions.